Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be building the intro section with the drop-down navigation. So you can head over into frontendmentor.io/challenges and you can click on this card. And if you have not started the challenge, then it's going to give you a button to download the starter files, but as you can see I've already started it. So once you download the files, you should have a zip file called intro section with drop-down navigation, and I've just extracted this into this right here, and that's what I have open in Visual Studio Code, as you can see. So we have the design files, we have the images, we have the git ignore, and all these other files. Now the first thing that I want to do is, because we're going to be building this in React, I want to create a new React application. So right inside here, I'm going to open up my terminal using Ctrl and J, as you can see, and I'm going to say npx create React app, and I'm going to call this solution, and then I'm going to let this run, and then once it finishes running, then we're going to continue. Okay, so once that finishes running, then I'm going to cd into the solution folder, and I want to install Tailwind CSS right away. So let's go ahead into the Tailwind CSS website, so which is this right here. So Tailwind CSS docs installation, and then we can go into framework guides and select create React app, and then let's run this. So copy and paste, and then copy this and paste it in, and then copy this, and then inside the Tailwind config file we can paste it here, and then we can copy these three into the index.css right here, right on the top, and then we can start our dev server. Okay, so let's save this, and then let's save this as well, and then inside our terminal we can say npm run start, which is going to spin up our dev server on localhost 3000. As that spins up, I want to grab the fonts, and the fonts are going to be inside the style guide, and the font is called Epilogue. We want the 500 and 700. Okay, so 500 and 700. Let's just open this link. Okay, so I want to remove this, and then I want to go into 500. Where's 500? Here, and bold 700, and then I'm going to select the import, just copy this, and then inside my index.css right on top of this I'm going to paste this in, and then I'm going to set the font family into Epilogue with a fallback of sans serif. Okay, that's looking nice. We can remove this from here because we're using Tailwind CSS, so we don't need to add it in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the images to have a max width of 100% so that they don't overflow outside of the device width or outside of their container. And then I'm going to set the ULs to have a list style type of none, so that we don't have bulleted lists. And I think that is going to be it for here right now, but I can set the paragraphs to have a let's just say @apply, which is a Tailwind utility, and I'm going to say @apply an opacity of -75, like so. Okay, and let me do that for the list items as well. So let's save this, and then our dev server should be this one right here. Okay, fantastic, and you can see that the font has already changed, looking horrible, right? So let's go ahead and we can close this, and we don't really need to stick to these colors really, So let's go ahead and into app.js, let's remove this boilerplate. We can remove this, and then we can remove this and this, and we need to get some two images which are going to be our hero images. So we can go inside the images folder, let me just copy this. So just copy this into the source folder, so paste it inside here. And then what I'm going to do is inside my app.js, I'm going to be getting these two, so the image hero desktop and mobile. So let me say import mobile from /images/image hero-desktop.jpg. Sorry, it's a .png, not JPEG. And then copy this down, change this to mobile. What am I doing? This is mobile, so this should be mobile, and then this is desktop, and then change this to desktop. Okay, and then inside here we're going to be returning a section. Okay, and then inside this section, because we're building out the hero section first, I want to have an article here, and this article is going to be an H1 that says make remote work. And then below this, we're going to have a paragraph that says something. So let's go inside this index.html right here. And then we can copy this right here. And then below this, we're going to have a button that says learn more. And then we're going to have another article here, which is going to be our image. And I want to toggle these images depending on the device width that we are on. So I'm going to set this into a picture tag. And then this picture tag is going to have a source media like so. So I'm going to say that for 768 pixels, then the source for the image that should be displayed on the screen should be the desktop image. And then for devices less than 768 pixels, then the source should be the mobile, like so. And let's save this. Let's see what we have on the screen, and we should see this. Look at that. Okay, fantastic. Now what I want to do is, just to style this out, is I want to go inside this section and give this section a class name of grid, and grid columns, grid dash calls dash 1 with a gap of, let's say, gap of 10. And then I want to say that for medium screens, then I want the grid columns to be 2. We should paste them side by side if this is going to reload at all. Okay, so there we go. And then I want to say that for medium screens, then I just want to say place items center. We should bring this text to the center like so. And then I want to say that for you know what, let me just say that let this have a max width of 4XL. This is quite small. Let me see how this looks on mobile first of all. So right around here, see that? So we don't have any kind of scrolling here. But if I set this into responsive and then try to increase it from mobile right around here, you can see that it's looking quite nice, right? There we go. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to say that for large screens, then the max width should be, let me see how 6XL looks. That's almost, let me say 5XL. Okay. And then I'm going to say that for MD, for medium screens, so when they display as 2 columns here, then I want the MX to be auto, so that this is going to be centered. Okay. And then let's tell the H1 here. So for the H1, I'm going to give this a class name of font-bold and text-4XL. And then for large screens, I'm going to say text-6XL. Let's say margin bottom of 5. And then go inside this paragraph, give this a class name of margin bottom of 5 as well. And then we're going to go inside this button, give this a class name of BG black and rounded dash large, and add a box shadow and add a text of white, and then set the font to bold. And then let's set that when we hover over it, I want the opacity to be -75 with a slight transition, so transition dash all with a duration of -150. And then let's add a padding on the Y of 2 and a padding on the X of 6. Okay, so let's see that. And then of course let's add a cursor pointer, by the way, cursor pointer right here. Okay, so we have this. Look at this. Okay, there we go. That's looking nice. And not the padding on the bottom is a bit more than the one on the top, so let's say padding top of 3 and padding bottom of 2. That should even it out right there. Now this is still a bit too small for me, so let's go inside the H1. Let's make this let's say that for XL screens, then the text should be 7XL. Yeah, that's better. Much better. Okay, and we have a few images that should be here, so let me just check the design, how this design looks. Let's check the desktop preview. And by the way, I should mention that I do realize that on mobile screens that the image comes first. On mobile screens, the image comes first and then the text. Okay, so let's first align this text to the center for mobile. Let's go inside app.js and inside article, give this a class name of text-center like so. And then for MD screens, I'm going to say text-left. And then inside this section, I want to have a padding of, and you know what, it's only on this article first of all, because the image on small screens goes all the way to the end. So let me go inside this article and I'm going to say that I want the padding on the X to be 5, so that this text doesn't go all the way to the end. And then let's see, I can say that for MD screens, then I want the padding on text to be 0. And not, instead of MD, let me say for XL screens. So let's see this. Okay, yeah, that works, that works. Okay, so let's bring this image to be fast, and we can do that by playing around with flex. So instead of this being grid, first of all, I just want this to be on medium screens only. So I'm going to say that for medium screens here, and then I'm going to remove this because we no longer need this. And then I'm going to say for MD screens, then the gap should be 10. And you can see that this is going to break a bit probably, or it doesn't rather, because none of these styles apply, or it hadn't saved, as you can see right here. So what I want to do now here is, first of all, on mobile screens, I want this to be a Flexbox, which is going to place them side by side, as you can see, which is not a good UI on mobile, right? So let's place it at around 360. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say flex call reverse, which is going to place the image first and then the text after. And then I'm going to say that on the section, I want the padding on the Y to be 10. So padding Y of 10. And you know what? Let's say padding Y of 20. That's a bit too small. Okay. And then let's go inside this article. So inside this first article here, I'm going to say margin on the top of 10 to push it away from this text. And then for medium screens, I want the margin on the top to be 0 so that the margin resets on medium screens. So look at this. Right around here, you can see that the grid now begins to apply. Okay, the grid now begins to apply, and it's looking much better. Now something that I do want to fix is that right around here, notice it's very slight, but I want this image to always take up 100% of the device width. So I can go inside this image here and give this a class name of width-full, and there we go. So just a bit of some slight optimization, but it looks very nice. And then let me check what I wanted to add. So I want to add these images. So let's go ahead and grab those images right at the top, right here. Let me check the names of these images. So I'm going to say import audio file from /images /client-audio file.svg, and then copy this 3 more times. This is going to say database, this is going to say maker, and then this is going to say meet. Okay, so let me see how these are structured. So database first. So we're going to go right inside this article, but at the bottom we're going to have a UL with 4 list items, and these list items are going to be images, as you can see. And then this first image is going to say database. This second image is going to say audio file. The third one is going to say what was it? Meet. Was it meet or maker? Meet. And then the fourth one is going to say maker. Like so. And then when we save this, then we should have these items on the screen. And then now what I want to do is style this out. So inside here, we're going to say give this a class name of flex and flex-call and items-center and justify-center. Okay. And you know what? Instead of, let me see how this looks. I can use grid instead of Flexbox here, I think. Let's see the mobile design. Okay, so the mobile design is 4 of them. So let's go ahead. Let me try and use grid here. Okay, so let's say grid and grid columns -4 with a gap of 1. So we're going to have that, and then we can go inside each of these images. So here, here, and here, give this a class name of width-10. Okay, width-10 is a bit too small. Let's say width-20. That's a bit too big. So width 16. Okay, and then we can go inside this UL, say margin top of 10, pushed away from this button. Okay, and we can say place, is it place item center or place content center? Okay, there we go. So place item center so that it places this perfectly to the center. If I were to remove this, then you'll notice that it's a bit to the left. Okay, so let's just do that. Fantastic. And then now we can scale it up. Let me see how this looks. And you know what, it actually looks nice even on big screens. All you can do is just probably increase the size of these images. Okay, and then what I want to do is that for empty screens, I want to say place items start, so that now this goes to the left. Okay, and then what I can do here is just grab this, and then I can say that for empty screens, I want the width to be, let's say 24. Let me see how 24 looks. Yeah, 24 looks fine. And then now let's go to the actual challenge for this and build out our header. Okay, so right on top of this, I'm going to have a header tag. Okay, and then inside this header tag, we're going to have a div inside here. This div is going to be the logo, which we're going to get, and then we're going to have a navbar inside here. So let's go ahead and grab this logo, and I'm going to say import logo from /images /logo.svg. I think that's what it's called. If it's not, we're going to find out. And then we're going to place the image here, and we're going to pass in the logo. So let's see, and we should see there we go. Now what I want to do is inside here, the way this is designed is the logo is here, and then we have the navbar, and then we have these two buttons. Okay, so what I'm going to do is inside the app.js, I'm going to move this nav above here. Okay, and then I'm going to create a div, and then this div is going to have a button, and this button is going to be the actual like the top part of the links. So this says features first of all. So features, company, careers, about. So features, and then we're going to create another div that has a button that says company, and then just copy this down, and then this says careers, and then about. Okay, and then these two have images. So img, the source for this is going to be chevron down, which we're going to import because it's an image that we are supplied with. So I'm going to say import chevron down from /images /icon arrow down. I think it is called, I think so, icon arrow down. There we go. Okay, so let's save this, and then let's see what how on the screen we should have that. Okay, and then let's create our login and register buttons, and our login and register are going to be outside of this div, outside of this. So we're going to have another div with two buttons. So this first one is going to say login, and then this is going to say sign up. Let's see, sign up. And then for this is a special kind of div, so we're going to give this a class name of hidden by default, and then on large screens we're going to display it as block, so we're never really going to see it. Okay, on mobile screens, I mean, we're not going to see it on mobile screens. So let's place this to the right, and then I can place my code to the left, and then we can begin to style this out. So let's go inside the header. This header is going to have a class name of padding all round of 5, like so. And then you know what, I've just forgotten that we need our menu button on the bottom, so I think it's called icon menu, right, .svg. So I'm going to say import menu open from /images /icon menu.svg, and then right below this I'm going to have a div inside here that is going to be a button that is going to have an image, and we're going to say menu open, like so, and we should see it right here. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to display this header as a flexbox. So flex, like so, and then items center and justify between, which should take the menu button to the end. Okay, and then now we want this to be positioned absolute. Okay, our actual navbar. So what I'm going to do is inside here I'm going to give this nav a class name of navbar, and I'm going to add some custom styles to it. So what I'm going to do is inside my index.css, I'm going to go here below here, and I'm going to say target the navbar class, and I'm going to say position this as absolute, position it to the top by let's say to the top by minus 100%, and then let's set it to the right by 0, and then set this width to 90%. Okay, and then I'm going to create a custom class on the navbar called open, so that when the navbar has a class of open, then I want it to be on the top by 5 rem. Okay, so it should disappear by default, and then when you click on this, then you want it to appear. So let's go inside here and then add this class of open on the navbar. Let's see how this is going to look. So it's going to be here. Okay, and then now what I want to do is, instead of setting this to 90, 90 is a bit too wide, let's say 50. Okay, and then I want this to have a background color of white. Okay, so that happens. And you know what, I want it to go all the way to the bottom as well, so I'm going to say set it to the left by 0 as well, and then set it to the bottom by 0, which means it's going to go all the way to the bottom. Okay, so this takes it to the bottom, but we can't see it because we need to increase the z index of this. So let me say that when the navbar has a class of open, then the z index should be 99, so that it's always going to be above this text. Okay, and let's see, why is this here? Okay, let's add another thing here, so that when the navbar has a class of open, then I want it to be positioned to the right by 0. Wait, why doesn't this apply here, by the way? Because right of 0 is here as well. Is it because of this? Is it because of this? So let's set it to the left. You know what? Okay, you know what? Let's remove this from here, and then because this is left by, okay, you know what? It's specificity. Let's move this on top, or it's not. let's comment this out. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we're going to have. Now let's add the padding. Let's add a bit of padding right here. So I'm going to add a padding of 1 rem. 1 rem, like so. Push that inwards, and then yeah, let's deal with our functionality now. Let's go inside app.js, and then we can remove this class of open. Okay, and then let's the background color is here. Okay, so this background color should move down, because by default obviously I don't want this to be visible. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. And then you know what, just so that it doesn't pop in, let's add a transition. So transition all the properties by 0.3 seconds, and then ease in out. And then now what I'm going to do is, right above here, I'm going to say const handle open menu, which is a custom function that I'm creating. Okay, and I'm going to say get the navbar. So const navbar is equal to document.query selector, and I want to select the .navbar, like so, and I just want to say navbar.classlist.toggle the class of open, like so. And then now I want to call this function when I click on this menu button. So right around where are you? Here. So on this button I want to say on click, set this to handle open menu. Okay, let's save this, and then let's try it out. Try it out. Doesn't work. Why don't you work? Why doesn't? Oh, it doesn't work. I think because we are not technically selecting this button. As you can see, I can't even drag it. That's because of the z index, I think, on this. Is it? So let me set the z index here to be -1. That is always going to be behind the text. There we go, as you can see. Okay, there you go. Fantastic. Okay, so our open menu is working. So what we need to do is we need to toggle this image to show the X when the menu is open. Okay, so we can do that easily by going into our image right here, and we're going to give this a class name of menu dash button. And then on top we need to import the close menu. So let's go ahead and say import close menu from /images/icon, what's it, icon close menu, icon dash close dash menu dash menu.svg. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our menu button right here. So const menu button equals to document.query selector, and it's called .menu-btn, or button, sorry, not btn. And then below this we're going to check, and we're going to be checking whether navbar has a class of open on it. And if it has a class of open, then we want to go ahead and show the close menu. And if it doesn't have the class of open, then we show the menu open. So we're going to say if navbar.classList includes the class of open, then we want to say menu button, so the image dot source, so the source for the image is going to be the close menu. And then else we want to say menu button dot source equals to menu open. Okay, so let's save this and then let's try it out, and nothing happens. Let's see the error, and it says navbar class. Oh, sorry, this is not includes, this is contains. It happens. This is contains, not includes. So let's try it out. There we go. So we can see our toggle is working correctly. Okay, and then now what we need to do is we need to style this out, and we actually need to populate this first of all. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside this div, and then right below this button I'm going to have a UL with the list items. So I think there are 4 of them. Oops. List item times 4. Okay, and then actually these list items are going to have images as well. So image, this first one is going to say to do list. Okay, this second one says something else that I can't remember. So let's check the menu expanded. So to do list, calendar, reminders, and planning. So to do list, calendar, reminder, and planning. Is it reminder or reminders? Reminders with an S. Okay, and we need to get the sources for these images. So this is going to be to do list, and then this second one is going to be calendar, this is going to be reminders, and then this is going to be planning. Let's get these images. So on the top we're importing quite a few things. So I'm going to say import to do list from /images / what's it called, it's called icon to do, icon dash to do.svg, and then copy this down, change this into calendar, so icon calendar, and then change this into reminders, and then change this into planning, and then of course change this into reminders, and then change this into planning. There we go. So let's save this, and we should see this on the screen. There we go. And then let's tile this out. So let's go ahead and let me actually place this full screen. Inside each of these list items, we can go ahead and say class name of flex, let's see. Okay, and then items dash center and justify dash start. And then inside these images, I want to give these images a class name of margin right of 2, pushed away from this text just a bit. Okay, fantastic. And you know what, inside these list items, once again, what I want to do is just say text dash small, make the text just a bit small, and then I can say margin bottom of 2, pushed away from one another, so that you can have a bit of spacing. And then inside this UL, I can say give this a class name of margin top of 2 as well, pushed away from this text. There we go. And then what you can do is we can just copy this UL and paste it below this other button here, and then we can remove these images because this second one doesn't have images. So right here and right here. Okay, but it does have some text, and this text is going to be history, our team, and blog. So history, our team, is it a capital T? And right here we're going to say blog, and then we can remove this fourth one. Okay, so let's save this, and we should have this on the screen. Okay, and then now what I want to do is inside this UL, I want to add a margin on the left of 3, push this inwards a bit, and then do the same for this. So right here you can say margin on the left of 3. Okay, that's looking almost nice. And then now let's bring this icon here on the right of this. So right inside this button, I can give this a class name of flex and items dash center justify dash start. Save it. There we go. And then I can go inside here inside this image and I give this a class name of margin on the left of 2. Pushed away just a bit. There we go. And then let me just copy this class name and paste it on this button, and then copy this and paste it on this, and there we go. Fantastic. Okay, and then let's go ahead into careers and push it away from this about just a bit. So right inside this div, actually I can just give this a class name margin bottom of 2, and then I can say that for large screens I want the margin to reset to 0 so that I don't forget it. And there we go. This is looking much better. Okay, so now let's add the toggle for these items so that when you click on them, then it shows the drop down list. And I'm going to be cheesy with this a bit, and I'm going to be using state values. So right here I'm going to say const, let's say open features, and set open features. This is equal to use state. By default it's going to be false, and then I'm going to copy this down and I'm going to say this is going to be open company, and set open company, and this is going to be false as well. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this UL, which is the features UL, and I'm going to place a conditional here, and I'm going to say when open features is true, that's when I want the UL to render. And then I'm going to do something similar to this UL, where I'm going to say when open company is true, that's when I want this UL to render. Okay, and then now I'm going to go inside this button right here, so this button for the company, and I'm going to say that when you click on this, then I want to say set open company to the opposite of open company. So if it is true, then set it to false, and if it is false, then set it to true. And then I'm going to do the same on these features here, where I'm going to say on click, then I want to pass in my inline function and say set open features into the opposite of open features, like so. Once again, so if it is true, then set it to false, and if it is false, then set it to true. So let's save this, and this is a bit, I think this is a bit of a cheesy way to do it. Use state is not defined, so let's import it. Let's say import use state from React. Okay, so let's try it out. There we go. You can see now the toggle is working correctly. Now what we do need to do is we need to change this chevron so that when it is open, then it should go upwards. Now remember that the chevron down, we imported it, so let's import the chevron up as well. So this is going to say chevron up, and this is going to say arrow icon arrow up, like so. And then we're going to go inside here, cut this image out, and we're going to place a conditional where we're going to say when open features is true, then I want the chevron up to appear, like so. And then if it is false, place a full colon at the end of this and paste this in. So I want the chevron down to appear. And you know what, we're going to do something similar on the company as well. So right on the company, we're going to paste this in and then change this to open company. So change this to open company and save it. Okay, and now look at this. Now it's pointing upwards because this is open, and when you click on it, it's closed. Okay, look at that, looking quite nice. Now all you need to do is just scale this up and we are going to be done. And by the way, notice this, look at this, right? The reason why this extends all the way is because of how we styled it out right here. So we set the width to be 50%. So the width is always going to be 50% of the device width. Even if you were to zoom out a bit, you'll see that always is going to be 50%. And if you want to see this in action, you can change this background color to red. And you'll notice that it is always going to be 50% of the screen, no matter the device width that you're going to be looking at it at. Okay, so that's okay, that's okay. And you know what, let's change this to white. There we go. Okay, and then now what you need to do is that on large screens, so large screens right around here, come on, right around here, we want this to disappear, and then we want to restyle our navbar so that it comes here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we need to go inside our app.js, and we need to go inside this div, and we're going to say that for this div, I want that on large screens, I want it to be hidden. So this is going to disappear first of all. And then let's go ahead inside our index.css, and then we need to reset a bit of these stylings. So I'm going to say at media, for a mean width of large screens is 1024 pixels in tailwind. I want to access the dot navbar, and I want the position to be relative. Okay, I want it to the top by 0, I want it to the left by 0, and then I want the width here to be auto. I want the padding to be 0, and I want the z index to be auto as well. Okay, and of course, just to be sure, let me set the background color to transparent. Okay, let's save this, and then let's see what we have this. Okay, so we have this, and then now the reason why it's a bit separated from this is because this is 5 rem, which is this one right here. Because the reason why it's 5 rem is because when we were moving this upwards, the navbar was open, but if it was closed, look at this, then it's going to come right here. Okay, so we also need to reset this to top of 0. So I'm going to say that for the navbar, for the dot open, I want it to be the top by 0, and then set the background color once again to transparent. Okay, and now I think we can remove this from here because we didn't really set the background color on the .navbar class. So we can remove this from here, and then we can get the z index as well, or z index, and set it to auto. Okay, now look at this. Now it's looking fine. Even if this were open, if we were to scale it up, then it will always go back to the top. Okay, fantastic. And then now what we need to do is we need to go inside the div that has our logo and navbar. So this div, so it has our logo here, and then it has our navbar, and we need to style this div and say that for large screens, then I want this div to be a flexbox, that this goes here. There we go. And then for large screens, I want this to be item center, and then for large screens, I want to say justify start. Okay, so that is going to go there, and not item center. What am I doing? This should be item start. Okay, and you know, probably it's going to be item center, but we're going to find out in a moment. Okay, now what we need to do is for large screens, once again, I want to add a bit of margin between this logo and this text, and then I want this number now to go in what's it called, in row form. So let's go right inside this image, give this a class name, and say that for large screens, I want the margin right to be 5. We start from this. Okay, and then we can go inside the .navbar class. So right here, let's go inside the .navbar, and I want to say, is that correct actually? Do I really need this to be here? Let me just say this. The navbar, this is the div, then the second div, then the third and fourth. So we can remove this from here, and then right around here. Let's not, let me go here. I can say display flex. Okay, and then I can say align item center and justify content to start, or flex start. And this is not align item center, it's align item start, so that it's going to be on the top. Okay, fantastic. And then now remember that we added a margin on the left of these links, right? So I just want to reset that margin to push it backwards. Okay, So let's go right where we added the margin on the left, and the margin on the left is on the ULs, for the ULs here. So I'm going to say that for large screens, then the margin on the left should be 0. So reset this and then just copy this, push it upwards, not upwards, just find where this second UL is right here. There we go. And it resets just a bit. And you know what we're going to do is inside this UL we're going to add a padding. Okay, so let me add a padding of 3 all round, and then this is for large screens. So for large screens, padding of 3, and then for large screens I want a box shadow. Okay, so that's going to apply to this, and then we're going to do the same on this UL on top. So this UL right here, and it should apply to this. Okay, fantastic. And then now what I want to do is okay, so the padding of 3 messes with this a bit, right? Because as you can see, the padding of 3 pushes this outwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a margin here on this div, and on this div, and on this div as well. So let's go inside the divs, and you know what, instead of styling them individually, I know they're all divs inside here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that for the dot navbar, I want to access all the divs, and I'm going to say at apply margin right of, let me say 5, let me see how 5 looks. There we go. There we go. And you know what is this massive thing inside here? What is this massive margin that is being added? Margin right of 10. I can't tell what this massive margin is, because this second one doesn't seem to be affected by it, right? The second one is not affected by it. Let me see. Okay, so this first div seems to have this is a margin on the right, but this second div doesn't have it. Where did I add that? Where did I add that? Let me just try and find it. Okay, so let me not worry about that too much. Instead, what I'm going to do is I want this div to be a bit wider. So inside here, I'm going to say set the width of this to be around, let me see, 10 rem is 160 pixels. So let me set it to 12 rem. How does this look? Oh, this is the div. I don't want this. I'm studying this wrongly. I don't want the divs, because the divs are these actual ones, right? Instead, I want the div UL. So I want the dot navbar, then the div, and then the UL inside, and then grab this, push it downwards. Okay, so that is going to happen. Now this happens. Now I don't want this to happen, so let me try and fix this by going inside this UL and positioning this as absolute. Position absolute. And the reason why I'm positioning it as absolute, by the way, is because I don't want that when I click on this, it also affects this other side. Okay, so when I position them as absolute, they're going to be positioned absolute within this div, and then when you click on them, they're just going to drop down and they're not going to affect this. Or rather, I hope that's what's going to happen. Let's try it out, and you can see it's already fixed quite nicely, right? Like almost nicely. Let me say almost nicely. Okay, now what I want to do is let's see. Let me remove this width for a moment. Let me see how this looks. Okay, so without the div, this is how it looks. Without the width, sorry, not without the div, this is how it looks. Okay, let me style these buttons because I can feel I'm forgetting them. So let's go inside the after.js. Let's go inside our 2 buttons here. So this first one is going to have a class name of border-2 and the border-black. Let's save this. Let's see that. Oops, that's the wrong button. Cut this out from here. Go inside the login button. There we go. And then let's say how rounded is this desktop design? And I'm doing it on the wrong button. Of course I am. So it should be on the register button. So on the register, let's grab this. Oh, this is register, not even sign up. What was I thinking? There we go. And then we can add an opacity here of opacity 7.5. And then we can add a padding on the X of 6, padding on the Y of 2, and then let's say rounded dash 2XL. Okay. And then let's go inside this button, give this a class name of margin on the right of 10. I think I added 10 here, right? Yeah, that's about right, 10. And then we can say opacity 75, make it just a bit lighter. There we go. So our login and register buttons. So the last thing that you can do here is that when either of these loses focus, then it sets the state value back to false, so that this closes or this closes automatically. Okay. And yeah, I think that's just about it. I just want to change this title. Let's change this title. Let me grab the title from the index.html right here. Copy this. Let's go inside the so many files are open here. Update this title. Okay. And then let me go ahead and also let me grab the attribution right here. So deal with the class of attribution, go inside the app.js and then go outside of this section, which ends here. And by the way, I should mention that it would probably be a good idea if you destructured all of this, or refactored the code rather, and made this into different components. Okay. It is probably, in fact, I think it is a much better idea. Change this to class name. And then change this to my name. Change this to my website. Okay, so we can save this, and then we can also grab the classes of the attribution right here, and then we can paste them inside our style. Let's paste them above the media query. Okay, so right around there, that's looking fantastic. Probably what I can do is I can say margin bottom 1 rem, and then increase this to 12 pixels. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Okay, let's change the favicon. I've just realized that the favicon should be inside the images, so let's grab this one from here. So let's just cut it out and paste it inside the public folder. And then inside the index.html, let's change the, this should also be white. Let me change it to white. And then let's change the, where's the favicon? Right here. -32 by 32.png. And it should update. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to commit this to GitHub, and then I'm going to leave the link for it in the description. So please check the description for the link to the GitHub repository. And then I'm also going to submit it to Frontend Mentor, but at a later time. So this is the end of the video, and if you've reached this far, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.